We bring in Travis Eldridge now. Huge weekend of games. Travis, let's get right to it. We'll start with one of the biggest, Duke and Notre Dame. Who do you got?
This is a huge game. You look at what Notre Dame did last week after the one-goal loss to Virginia. They go up to the Carrier Dome, looked great. Pat Cavanaugh was terrific. However, I got to go with Duke in this one. Pat Cavanaugh's great, but Duke has too many defensive options they can throw at him. Carpenter, don't forget him. Everybody talks about JT Giles-Harris. Carpenter's great on that defense as well. So I got Duke 14-12. They just have too many options offensively. I know Notre Dame's defense is good, but, I mean, Duke has about 5 guys that could take over this game. So I got Blue Devils in a close one.
See, if this was a tournament game, I am taking Duke through and through, but we're in the middle of a conference season, sort of a gauntlet for Duke. They've won the last 2 by 1 goal apiece. I am picking the upset.
Ooh.
Notre Dame has held their opponents to their lowest scoring of the season in 4 of the 6 games thus far. Their defense is legit, and I think it's a little deeper than the other defenses Duke has played so far this year. So I am taking Notre Dame in this one.
All
ACC,
right.
it's going to start getting the Duke a little bit, and they haven't looked as dominant here as of late either.
Yeah, a 1-goal overtime win against the second-best team in the country, not dominant. And this team is really, really good.
They are, and I think Notre Dame's good too. All right, let's move on. UVA, UNC, a rematch from a couple weeks ago, back on March 11th. UNC won 16-13. Who do you got this time, Travis?
Different location. I'm going to flip the script on this one. Virginia is playing better, and they figured things out. That overtime, the 1-goal win against Notre Dame was huge, and then they take care of business, dominant against. Look, Richmond's a good team, and they looked really good offensively in that game last weekend. It's a game that kind of flew under the radar because we're back into ACC play. I got Virginia by 1, 13-12. Dox Aiken's emergence is important in this midfield, and don't forget about the options they have, like Peyton Cormier, Connor Schellenberger, Matt Moore. They've got so much depth. I think that first game was kind of a wake-up call for Virginia. I think they get UNC back here at home.
I'm on the same page as you here, Travis. I flipped even the score. It's going to be 16-13 UVA. I agree. I think Dox Aiken has started to come into his own. We've heard Lars Tiffany say that Dox is back. He only had 1 assist in their first meeting, so just an idea of the impact scoring-wise. There are so many different options that Virginia has, as you mentioned. So I am going Virginia 16-13 here, getting a little bit of revenge on North Carolina.
He completely changes the game, by the way. Dox Aiken in that midfield just changes everything you got to do.
And Virginia's still good. I mean, let's be honest.
And defensively, they got good options, too. I don't think they let UNC smack them in the mouth like they did the first time.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit closer to start, and then UVA gets a couple late.
Agreed.
Okay, Loyola and Army go to the Patriot League. This should be an interesting one, and maybe a little bit lower scoring is what I'm saying. What do you think?
This is a toss-up, a really good game. I think the one thing that stands out to me about Army is last week they lose to Lehigh by 1.
Yeah.
But you know what they did at the face-off X against Sisselberger and Lehigh? They lost all but 4 face-offs. They won 4 of 27. And they still only lost by 1 to a really good Lehigh team. I think that tells you everything you need to know about how good the Black Knights are, even after the pause that they had in the middle of the season due to some COVID issues on campus. So I'm going Army 12-10. They're going to have more possessions. Bailey Savio is good for Loyola. He's not as good as what Mike Sisselberger did against this Army squad this past week. So I think they win more face-offs, and I give Army an edge here with what they have offensively. I don't know if I trust what Loyola has offensively from what I've seen in the last couple of weeks. Got shut down by Towson. Ever since they put up the 20-plus goals in those back-to-back games for the games against the Tigers, offense didn't look quite as good against Navy last week. I think Army's an even step up. I think Army gets them.
I actually disagree with you across pretty much the entire round of the mill here.
Okay.
Loyola, it's going to be low scoring. I got Loyola 9-7.
Ooh.
And I think Loyola is a better offensive team than Army. You look at Army, and if you shut down Nick Turn, it's kind of everybody else. Nick Turn can go off, and they got to get some other help other than him. Nick Turn this season has 38 points. Bobby Abshire's next. He got 15. That's a pretty big drop-off. I sort of like the pieces. Riley C now coming into his own a little bit more. He scored 8 goals this year. Didn't score at all last year.
They need more from him.
After transferring from Bellarmine. So he has come on as of late. And then you also have, of course, Lindley and Olmstead and all those guys. So I think that they just have a little bit more offensively, Loyola. to maybe score a couple on Army, and it's going to be a low-scoring game at that. So I think those pieces are the ones that bring them over the top. Nick Turn could score 5 goals, but I don't know how much Army's getting other than that.
The Towson game soured me on Loyola. The Tigers impressed me defensively, but the Loyola offense did not impress me, and I think that's kind of stuck in my mind.
All right, moving along to the women's game now. We had Tracy Wiener on a couple weeks ago. I asked her, will anyone come within 4 goals of North Carolina? No one has. My question is, will Notre Dame come within 4 goals of North Carolina this week?
No.
No?
I mean, first of all, you can't bet against Tracy. I mean, Tracy knows.
Right, Tracy Wiener knows all.
So I'm going to agree with Tracy here. If there was any team in the country that could have held North Carolina within 4 goals, I thought it was Syracuse, and it looked like early on the Orange was going to be the team. They're up 4-1, and then the Tar Heels woke up. I mean, this game this past weekend just opened my eyes to... we all knew North Carolina was good, but I didn't know they were this good. And what they did to Syracuse was just all-time impressive. I don't think there's a team in the country that's within 5 goals of them, and Notre Dame included. Notre Dame's really talented. Not even close to what the Tar Heels have, especially with Notre Dame maybe in a couple of years as all these players continue to get older that are freshmen, sophomores, juniors. Carolina's got fourth, fifth, and 6th years that have been there, done that before. They're just too tough.
I'm going on the number. I'm going UNC by 4 goals. So I don't know if I answered it or not.
Toss up.
But I think it's on the number.
So that
4
means,
goals.
yes, there is somebody within 4 goals of UNC.
And the reason for that is Andy Aldave. She scored 2 goals in her last 2 games. This game's in South Bend. I like the way she's playing, and she just does more for that offense up and down the field than anybody else, and she's getting healthier, it seems, by the week. I think she does bring a different sort of piece to Notre Dame, and I think that they're going to start playing better and better as the season goes on. After a COVID sort of funky start, I think they're going to get back on track and losing to UNC, but only by 4. I don't know how that all works. All right, let's finish up in the CAA. JMU Hofstra, always a good game. These two teams coming off interesting games in the last time out, too. So who do you like there, Travis, real quick?
Yeah, Drexel just beat up on Hofstra. That was a surprise. Drexel's really good. I got JMU by 1. I think it's low scoring, 10-9, and I think that's how JMU wins. They got to keep this Hofstra offense low scoring in the single digits. If they do and they slow down Perella, I think they win by 1.
I think it should be a really good game. I've got Hofstra by 1, 8-7. I like the pieces offensively for Hofstra. I love the JMU defense, of course, and they'll do as much as they can against Perella and Matera and Darcy Smith out there. And you can see Perella, 1 more point, and she'll be the all-time point leader in CAA history. So I do like just a little bit more Hofstra in this game. JMU kind of a funny win, 8-5 over Liberty last time out. I think that just Hofstra will have a better bounce back after playing Drexel. And I just think for both these teams, it's sort of a bounce back feel. And Hofstra will just do it a little bit better. They haven't beaten JMU since 2015, so I think they're going to do it here this week. And they've come close.
They have.
Haven't come close enough. Maybe this is the week to do it.